Okay, let's unpack this. Most of us grew up hearing about Noah's Ark. You know, the literal boat, God's plan, all that rain, 40 days and nights.
Right, the classic Sunday school image.
But if you dive into metaphysical scripture analysis, there's this whole other way of seeing it. Not history, not even just myth, but like a technical manual for your inner life.
That's exactly what we're getting into today. We're peeling back that literal story in Genesis chapter 6 through 8 and looking through the lens of Dr. Roy E. Richmond's work specifically.
Okay.
He really frames it as a deep allegory, a parable about transforming human consciousness. So our mission here is to shift from just reading about a big boat to understanding this as, well, spiritual instructions for you.
Right, instructions. And I guess the first step is we need a new map, right?
Right.
Because Dr. Roy starts by redefining the basics, like Earth.
Yeah, Earth isn't the ground beneath our feet. In this context, it's your outer awareness, the visible stuff, how your inner thoughts actually express themselves outwardly.
Okay, so my world is a reflection of my inner state. And the big problem then, the reason for this whole flood narrative, it's called corruption and violence.
And here's where it gets really interesting. He flips the script on cause and effect. The violence isn't physical fighting, it's awareness completely swamped by confusion, by duality, that feeling of inner conflict.
Ah, okay, internal violence.
Exactly. And the corruption of all flesh. That means our physical senses, what he calls sense consciousness, have basically taken over. They deceive us into thinking life is only about what we see and touch, the outer material form.
So it's like being trapped in the illusion of the physical.
Precisely. It's the mind operating purely from a place of separation. And that kind of foundation, well, it inevitably leads to collapse.
So the flood isn't some, angry punishment from above. It's more like the natural result when your whole reality is built on shaky ground. False ideas just crumble.
That's the perspective. And right there, in the middle of this potential collapse, we find Noah.
The main character. Who is he in this inner landscape?
Noah represents that core of awakened awareness that exists within every single person. It's the part of you that's still connected, still able to hear the divine voice. The source text calls it the Elohim breath.
Elohim breath. I like that.
And the instruction given to this aware core is super direct. Make thee an ark.
Build the boat.
Or rather, build an inner sanctuary of consciousness. A state of awareness designed to rest securely on divine understanding, something that can float above the chaos of outer appearances.
Okay, so it's an internal structure. And the materials are specific too. Go for wood and pitch, sealing it inside and out. Hard not to just picture wood and tar unless you shift perspective.
And they become powerful symbols of qualities you need inside. Go for wood, known for being durable, stable. It represents thoughts that are aligned with spiritual endurance, with inner adaptability.
So cultivating stable, resilient thinking.
That's the idea. It's the quality of stability you build into your daily thoughts.
And the pitch. Why seal it within and without? Seems redundant if it's good pitch.
Ah, but that's the seal of truth. Pitch here symbolizes the absolute certainty, the waterproof nature, let's say, of divine awareness. Applying it inside means sealing your inner awareness from doubt and conflict.
Okay.
And applying it without means sealing your outer actions and words from the world's fear-based thinking. It basically ensures no conflicting thought can get in and, sink the whole project. It's like the ultimate psychological boundary.
Got it. Okay, let's move to the blueprint itself. Genesis 6.15. This is where Dr. Roy really leans into the idea of divine order, right? These very specific measurements. 300 cubits long, 50 wide, 30 high.
Exactly. These aren't just random numbers.
I get the symbolic meaning of each number, like 300 for fullness, 50 for jubilee, 30 for maturity. But how does the proportion, 300 by 50 by 30, guide someone today in building that stable inner awareness?
That's a great question. It's not just definitions. It's like specifications for a balanced inner life. 300 points to divine fullness, that complete spiritual maturity you're aiming for. That's the foundation, the length.
The biggest dimension.
50, the width, signifies jubilee, spiritual freedom, restoration, room to move within that fullness. And 30, the height, speaks to spiritual readiness, the maturity needed for meaningful action or expression. Think of, the age Jesus began his ministry.
So it's not just about having big thoughts, like the 300. It's saying your inner freedom, the 50, and your readiness to act, the 30, need to be contained within and kind of proportional to this huge foundation of mature consciousness, the 300.
Precisely. It's almost like spiritual engineering. You need scope and stability, the 300, but that scope has to be balanced by inner freedom and practical readiness. If you have, say, 300 cubits of mental turning but only 5 cubits of freedom, well, your arc might feel pretty unstable, top-heavy.
That makes sense. The structure also insists on a window and a door. The window is finished above. Why just one window? And why up high? Seems like you'd want more visibility.
Good point. But the window above represents the single eye, the highest point of your awareness. The idea is that illumination, true understanding, has to come from the higher realm, from divine mind, not from the messy, changing light of the outer world.
So when things get confusing,
Look up, not around. Draw your light, your wisdom, from the source, not from the symptoms swirling around you.
okay. And the door, it's set in the side. If this is the vessel saving consciousness, why isn't the entrance like front and center? Big welcome mat.
The side door is symbolic. It suggests the way into this inner awareness isn't through the front door of the intellect, through arguing or forcing your way in. It's more subtle. It requires surrender, stepping sideways out of your usual linear, sense-based thinking and into a space of trust, of acceptance. Divine mind is the door to all real knowledge, and you access it sort of obliquely.
Through acceptance, not assertion.
Yeah.
I like that. Then we also had the 3 stories lower, second and third.
Yeah.
A vertical structure inside the arc.
Yeah, these point to the levels of expansion needed for wholeness. The lower story is kind of our baseline. Outer awareness, easily influenced by body consciousness, sensory input, basic drives.
Ground floor.
Ground floor. The second story represents renewed awareness, where consciousness is actively being worked on, transformed by the logos, by truth.
The work in progress level.
Right. And the third story is spiritual awareness. This is living fully from divine mind, experiencing oneness. It shows that spiritual consciousness isn't a one-and-done thing. It's a continuous ascent and expansion within.
Okay, let's shift from the architecture to the big event, the flood itself. If we're sticking with this spiritual blueprint idea, the flood can't just be water washing away stuff. It's a huge breakdown of our outer thought life. What's it really doing?
The flood is seen as spiritual cleansing. It's the necessary, maybe even inevitable movement of divine truth, washing away all the illusions we've let fill up our awareness. When the text says, I bring a flood, it symbolizes the powerful corrective activity of the logos waking up inside us.
We've used that term logos a couple of times. Can you break that down a bit more? For someone hearing it, it might sound a little academic.
Sure. Think of the logos simply as the active, intelligent, creative, and corrective principle of the universe. It's truth and action, the underlying order and wisdom. When that truth really starts to function in your awareness, anything built on lies or illusion just can't stand up to it. That active force is the flood.
But here's the thing. When someone is going through a real-life flood, like losing a job, a relationship ending, a scary diagnosis, it doesn't feel like cleansing. It feels destructive, punishing even. How does this view offer comfort in that raw, painful moment of collapse?
That's the absolute crucial shift in perspective this interpretation offers. The destruction of all flesh isn't about the physical body dying. It's the disintegration of the illusion of materiality, the illusion of separation. It's the death of a mistaken identity.
Okay. Not the death of the person, but the death of the false self.
Exactly. The core living being isn't destroyed. Only the mental and emotional structures built on fear, on pride, on ignorance get washed away. The pain often comes from us clinging desperately to that mistaken identity as it dissolves. The comfort, then, is realizing the flood isn't a judgment on you, but a kind of radical renovation for you. It's clearing the ground for something true.
And the covenant mentioned, that's not like a business deal struck under pressure.
Not at all. It symbolizes the dawning awareness within you of an eternal union that was never actually broken.
Yeah.
It's the remembrance of an everlasting relationship with the divine that was always there, beneath the surface noise.
Okay. And Noah doesn't go into the ark alone. He takes his whole family.
Right. His sons, his wife, his sons' wives. This represents gathering all the different aspects of your own being, your thoughts. Sons maybe representing active thoughts, your affections. Wives perhaps embodying receptive qualities. Your outer expressions, bringing them all into the safety and harmony of this inner sanctuary, the Elohim breath. It's about achieving inner integration.
Then Genesis 7 describes this dramatic climax. The fountains of the great deep break open, and the windows of heaven open up.
I mean, what an incredible image for a mind undergoing a radical shift. The fountains of the great deep bursting open.
Yeah.
That signifies the subconscious letting go. All the hidden stuff, buried emotions, old traumas, deep-seated beliefs suddenly surging to the surface, sometimes violently.
Yeah, that can feel overwhelming.
Totally. But at the same time, the windows of heaven open. Divine mind pours down new light, new wisdom, new understanding, precisely to handle all the chaos that's being dredged up. It's like the problem and the solution arise together.
Wow. Both happening at once, and then that line, the Lord shut him in. That sounds like the ultimate goal, maybe, divine protection.
It really is. It symbolizes consciousness being sealed in perfect rest, in peace. Once you're truly shut in this sense, your awareness is enclosed. It's no longer vulnerable to being tossed around by external events or even by the internal storms of the subconscious. The ark just floats, securely carried by the waters of divine wisdom.
Okay, let's talk about the animals. The pairs, every living thing, two of every sort, male and female. If the ark is consciousness, these aren't literal creatures. What are they?
They represent the full spectrum of our inner life, all our thoughts, desires, feelings, even our primal instincts, everything that moves within our awareness.
All of it, even the stuff we don't like.
All of it. And the integration is key for wholeness. The instruction for two of every sort, male and female, points directly to balance, reconciling polarities. Your active will needs to align with your receptive understanding. Your sharp intellect needs the balance of intuition.
So you can't just pick and choose the good thoughts to save.
Exactly. No part of your essential self gets destroyed or left behind in this model. All the seeming opposites find their place and their peace within divine oneness inside the ark.
So we have to bring our maybe base instincts or even our egoic thoughts into the ark and harmonize them, not try to kill them off outside.
That's the idea. Look at the categories mentioned. Fowls may be our higher thoughts, the ones that soar into spiritual ideas. Cattle are practical strengths, our capacity for service, the useful domesticated aspects of mind, and then the creeping things.
Yeah, the creepy crawlies.
Those could represent the lower instincts, basic survival functions, maybe even things we're a bit ashamed of. But if you try to eliminate the creeping things entirely, say, your basic drive for self-preservation, you create a dangerous imbalance. The goal is to bring all these energies under the governance of divine mind within the ark, aligning them with your higher purpose.
Okay, then the waters rise and the ark is lifted above the earth. That feels like a very clear image of spiritual elevation.
It really is. It signifies awareness being carried by the Elohim breath, by the spirit, instead of being stuck down in material perception on the plane of limitation and problems. You're not fighting the flood. You're lifted by it. You're riding the current of divine understanding.
And it says the high hills and even the mountains get covered by the water. That seems significant too, speaking directly to things we think are solid and permanent in ourselves.
Absolutely. Those mountains represent our most elevated egoic structures. The peaks of pride, the mountains of stubborn fear, self-importance, those fixed opinions and beliefs we thought were completely immovable. The flood of truth has to rise high enough to dissolve even those highest peaks, until the only thing supporting the inner ark is the boundless water of life itself.
Now, here's maybe a point of friction for some. The whole process, the flood prevailing, takes 150 days. If divine truth, the Logos, is so powerful, why isn't the cleansing instant? Why this long duration?
That's a really practical question. The 150 days seems to indicate a necessary period of, let's say, stabilization, a gradual sanctification of awareness, real spiritual transformation, especially when it involves unwinding deep-seated habits and beliefs. It often takes time for the new awareness to really take root and integrate.
So it's not just a flash flood, it's a soaking.
Kind of, yeah. The cleansing is measured. It's thorough because the inner structure, the ark consciousness, needs to be fully settled and integrated before the waters can safely recede. It represents that period needed for the soul to process everything, to adapt, and to really embody the new reality. It respects the process.
Okay, that makes sense. Finally, we get to Genesis 8, verses 1 to 5. The waters start to recede. Calm renewal. The text says, God remembered Noah.
And Dr. Roy is quick to point out, divine mind never actually forgets anything. So remembered here signifies the reawakening of conscious union. It's Noah's own awareness coming back into active, felt communion with the divine, realizing that the life within the ark was always held, always cared for, even during the storm. The turmoil was internal, but the divine care was constant.
Then a wind passes over the earth, drying the waters.
That wind is the creative breath, the like essence, again, the Logos in its calming, renewing aspect. It dries up the flood of false thoughts that used to dominate the landscape of awareness. The intense, turbulent phase is over. Its work is done.
And the ark comes to rest on the mountains of Ararat, the destination.
Yes. Ararat symbolizes stability, peace. Awareness finally established firmly upon divine truth. It represents that high consciousness of peace, what you might call holy ground. It's the solid, unshakable foundation that remains after all the illusions have been washed away.
And that last beautiful image, the tops of the mountains start to be seen again.
It signals that higher thoughts, spiritual perceptions, are beginning to reappear, rising back into clarity now that the waters of confusion are subsiding. And the fact that they appear gradually shows that illumination often dawns progressively. It emerges naturally from the stillness, in divine order. You aren't just thrown back into a harsh reality. True reality is gently revealed to you step by step. So just to kind of wrap up the core instruction here. The Ark isn't some ancient wooden boat. It's the living consciousness of I exist, built carefully according to divine order and proportion. That purification process, the flood, well, it's pretty much inevitable when confusion and false beliefs take over. But the key is the instruction to build the ark comes before the storm hits. You're meant to build your spiritual resilience proactively.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Dr. Roy's interpretation offers this, pretty profound reframe. What shows up in your life looking like destruction? Maybe the collapse of old certainties, the discomfort of hidden emotions surfacing could actually be renovation. The flood isn't your undoing. It's the logos lifting you higher. It's your rising. The ultimate assurance here is that your inner ark, if you build it according to these inner divine specifications, remains sealed. It's held within that covenant of oneness, perfectly safe throughout the entire process, no matter how wild the waters get. The journey to Ararat, to that established peace, it might feel turbulent. It might take time, that 150 days of integration, perhaps longer symbolically. But the fact that the ark finally rests on the highest ground suggests that every challenge faced is ultimately just preparing the way for a new, higher, more stable level of consciousness. So maybe the question to ponder is this: what specific egoic mountain within you, what peak of pride or fear or fixed belief do you sense needs to be fully submerged by this flood of truth before your own inner ark can find its final peaceful resting place?